Chapter 28. An unexpected discovery. Ferry loved May. It was the loveliest month of the year. The sun was just right, not too shy, not too bold. Flowers bloomed everywhere, and the trees' leaves were still young and vibrant. The air buzzed with birdsong, the hum of insects, and the chatter of people. Every once in a while, Ferry passed by May's house. Sometimes, he paused outside the flower shop. Standing there under her window always left him feeling a bit dreamy, which he blamed on the enfolding scent of plants and flowers wafting from inside, of course. And if he caught a glimpse of May, it made his day even better. The end of the school year was coming, and Ferry had proven himself to be quite a dedicated student. Even without any magical assistance, he had worked hard all year long. With Ben's help, tackling math wasn't as daunting as before. That morning, he brought Miss Summer the first buds of pink peonies from his mother's garden. Miss Summer smiled and breathed in the flowers' freshness, just as eager for the summer holiday as her students. "Our first class is math," she announced, eliciting a collective groan from the classroom. Miss Summer chuckled. "But since it's such a beautiful day, I thought we'd do something special that suits the weather. And to make it even more enjoyable, you'll work in teams. The assignment is called The Way I See Summer." The classroom erupted with applause and cheers. Then Miss Summer assigned teams. Matilda ended up with Danny Stevens, much to her dismay. Ferry couldn't help but smile at her reaction. He hoped to be paired with May, but Miss Summer had other plans, teaming May up with Amelia Trey, the forgetful classmate. When Miss Summer announced Ferry's teammate, he couldn't believe his ears. He asked her to repeat it, only to find out he was paired with Billy Pride. Miss Summer smiled at everyone, but no one returned the smile. No one was happy with their partners. They had 2 weeks to finish the assignment, whether it was a composition, a mock-up, or a model. The winning team would receive a set of books as a prize. Although the prize wasn't very appealing, Miss Summer was firm. Those who didn't complete the assignment would spend the entire holiday at school, doing cleaning and repairs. Some children started working on the project the very next day. Unfortunately, Ferry wasn't one of them. "If you think I'll have to see your face every day for 2 weeks, you must be mad," Billy hissed in Ferry's ear during the next break. "I don't need a prize, and I'm definitely not going to spend the summer cleaning the school," he said before storming out of the classroom. Ferry felt worried. He knew how stubborn Billy could be. No matter how much he loved going to school, he wouldn't want to spend the summer holiday cleaning the school's floors. Things weren't any better with the other teams. "You can't imagine how difficult it is to work with Celia," Ben complained one morning on their way to school. "She's impossible. She expects me to do things only the way she wants." "Celia?" Ferry wondered. "I thought her name was Cecilia." "That's what the close ones call her," Ben stammered. "Since when are you one of Cecilia's close ones?" Matilda asked, making Ben flush. "Well, I can't say my project is going well, either. But at least I can make it the way I want. Luckily, Danny loves food so much, he eats most of the time. So I can do the project my way. How about you, Ferry?" "I don't know," Ferry said with a sigh. "Billy won't even talk to me, let alone work with me. I don't know what I'm going to do." "Pity," said Matilda. "You could have gone to his room again to find that glowing object." "I can't think of that now, Matt," Ferry replied, touching the key he had taken from Billy. "I've got other things on my mind." One late afternoon, to his surprise, a black car, the only one Ferry had seen in town, stopped in front of the Donovans' house. Albert Pride's driver ceremoniously stepped out and invited Ferry to the Pride residence for his school assignment with Billy. Despite his reluctance after the flower pot incident, Ferry had no choice but to accept. After promising his mother once more that he wouldn't get into any trouble, he got into the car and left. As always, Billy greeted him with the same coldness. "My mother forced me to bring you here," he said the moment he saw him. Ferry responded with a nod and followed Billy to his room in silence. The desk was covered with all the crafting items he could imagine: cardboard, geometry sets, colored pencils, watercolors, plywood, glue, wooden boards of various sizes, and paper in all shapes and colors. Small nails and a hammer completed the collection. "I'm not going to lift a finger for this stupid project," Billy warned as they entered his room. Ferry, however, would have loved to craft. Still, he needed Billy's help with the nails since he couldn't possibly work with his gloves on. A knock on the door interrupted their conversation. The door opened wide, and Billy's mother came in, accompanied by a delicate, exotic scent. She wore a dress made from the finest silk with a floral pattern that seemed to undulate as she walked. It was as if spring itself emerged from that dress. One of the kitchen staff followed her, carrying a large tray with an assortment of treats: cookies, biscuits, chocolate, fruits, and lemonade. "So glad to see you, Ferry," she said with a wide smile. "I hope you and Billy will get along well. And I also hope your project will win," she added. "We, the Prides, are winners," she said, giving Billy a significant look. "Yes, Mrs. Pride," said Ferry, trying to be polite as his mother had taught him. Billy's mother gave him the same big smile before leaving, and Ferry noticed her perfect, porcelain-white teeth. The servant followed her out in silence. The moment his mother left, Billy began searching for something under the bed. "Can I help you?" Ferry asked. "Mind your own business," Billy muttered from under the bed. Uncertain what to do, Ferry walked to the large window and looked outside. The window was wide open, giving him a clear view of the maze stretching out in the distance. He wondered if anyone had ever dared to enter that labyrinth of tangled shrubs, each the size of a tree. "Did you see a key last time you were here?" Billy asked, emerging from under the bed. So that was what he was looking for. Ferry shook his head no, then immediately looked at the floor. He was terrible at lying. Billy sank into the armchair, holding the tray of treats in his lap. He ate haphazardly, as if Ferry wasn't even there. Ferry continued looking out the window. "That maze looks amazing," he mused aloud. "Well, you could say that," Billy said, his mouth full. "They built it a long time ago, before I was born. The gardener must be very talented." Billy wiped his mouth with his sleeve. He might be dead. He disappeared 14 years ago. He was Jason Scott's grandfather. "Jason from our class, you know." Ferry's jaw dropped. "Disappeared? How?" "I heard the older servants talking about it. They said he went to Shepherd's Forest to bring back some wild shrubs and never returned." "What happened to him?" Ferry asked. "Some people say he lost his mind, got lost in the woods, and wild beasts ate him," whispered Billy, trying to look scary. "They said he was behaving strangely before disappearing," he added in a low, mysterious voice. Ferry wasn't sure whether to believe him. They weren't the best of friends, and Billy never missed an opportunity to tease him. "What do you mean he behaved strangely?" he asked. "Well, he was talking to himself, mentioning something about the unseen. That was around the time he trimmed the hedges in the maze. Some say he was trying to leave a message." Ferry frowned. "What message?" "Who cares?" Billy said with a snort. "It's just a stupid story. Let's just get started already. I don't want to see your face around here too often." Ferry silently agreed. It was clear he and Billy would never be friends. "First, we need to think about what summer means to each of us," said Ferry. "Then I'll make a sketch of the project, and we can start crafting." "It's just that, I'm not great at crafting," he admitted in a low voice. "Why?" Billy asked, a strange twinkle in his eyes. "I'm just terrible at it, unlike my father, who's so good he can make something out of almost anything." "Yes, I know how you must feel," Billy said softly. "My mother is never pleased with anything I do. Sometimes I feel like I'm not even. I would have loved to have a mother like yours," he added, his voice trembling. For the first time, Ferry could tell he was being honest. But Billy's moment of vulnerability passed. He shivered, and his gaze turned cold again. Whatever. Let's just start already. For me, summer means freedom. And it also means flying, he said. That took Ferry by surprise. Summer also meant flying to him. Their project was taking shape. Ferry focused on drawing and coloring, while Billy handled the crafting, using nails and a hammer. They worked silently but shared a mutual joy as their little project grew. Every afternoon, Mr. Pride's car stopped in front of Ferry's house, and Ferry got in quickly under the watchful eyes of his neighbors. The world seen from inside the car looked different, almost like a film playing before his eyes. From behind the dark windows, he knew no one could see him. He saw Ben and Matilda at the playground, May adjusting floral decorations in the flower shop's window, and Mrs. Cobbs walking in front of her sinister house, leaning on her walking stick. As the car left town, the landscape transformed. Trees stretched their branches on both sides of the road, intertwining like the arms of children at play. Hills rose in the distance, and the high, clear sky watched from above. Suddenly, something caught his eye. Ahead, someone was walking, barely dragging their feet. As the car passed by, he saw Mrs. Cobbs. The same Mrs. Cobbs, leaning on her walking stick. Ferry's jaw dropped, his nose glued to the car's window. He looked her dead in the eye, just to be sure he wasn't imagining things. To his horror, she looked back at him, even though he was hidden behind the dark car's window. Ferry pulled away from the window, barely breathing. How was that even possible? How could she see him when she was almost blind? And most peculiar of all, how had she reached the outskirts of town so quickly? Even the fastest person would need at least a quarter of an hour, let alone a blind old woman who could barely walk. At Billy's house, Ferry was absent-minded and struggled to concentrate. Billy eventually got bored and left the room for some fresh air in the garden. That was when Ferry noticed the colorful glow coming from under the floor again. This time, he didn't hesitate. With swift movements, he lifted the floorboard and took out the box. He saw scratches on it, indicating Billy had tried to open it. Quickly, he took the key out of his pocket and opened the box. He couldn't believe his eyes. How had he never thought of this before? Inside the box, glowing in the most amazing colors, were Lavender Sky's magical feathers.